great
We
thing.
are live. Good to
So,
see you, Jim.
so Stu, can you sell books without promotion?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I never have.
I love that. That's like the dad answer. It's well, no. It's I wrote a book and I didn't tell anyone, and I didn't sell any. What is your favorite book promotion strategy, Stu? Like if you only
Ooh.
had one strategy that you could do, what would it be?
Well, I will tell you, Jim, I never quit. Um, never quit promoting. No, now this latest program, as well as the programs before that, all come out with an article
Hmm.
that I share on social media, that I boost on social media. I also send it to a newsletter on my audience, let them know that I have a new book. Um, what else? Oh, I write a video, make a video about it, talk live stream Q&A sessions with it, and from there, I make it an ebook, make it an audio book, and eventually even make it a course. And now it's its own separate entity system. You know what I mean? It just makes it becomes a thing versus just a book. You know what I mean? It is a all encompassing way of getting information, um, and it's not just a book anymore. So that's what I try to do. I try to make a book bigger than a book. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. I'm for once I'm letting you talk. Um so really if I had to kind of, and this is where somebody be like, "Hey, just wouldn't it just be easier for you to redo this?" But, I paid all this money for this damn thing, so I might as well use the might as well use it. So what you're
Wow.
saying is you and really what you didn't say but what you are saying is that you figure out what's a result that people want, you package it up into a book, which includes audio book, which is print book, ebook, and course. And then you start publishing individual quote unquote articles, but an article is not really an article because it becomes a blog post that becomes an ad that becomes a newsletter that becomes a video that becomes a Q&A session, and all this stuff just starts spiraling out into the universe, hitting your ideal customers who say, "You know what? I really want that result. Take my money, Stu Smith." Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, Jim. That is how I do it. And the cool thing about this method
Hmm.
is you can repeat it as often as you want to make money.
What?
You can repeat that as often as you want to make money. If you want to make money, you got to repeat it, right? But you just change it a little bit. If you wrote a 10 article book, I mean a 10 chapter book,
Uh-huh.
that's at least 10 articles,
Which means that's at least 10 emails, which means
right?
it's at least 10 videos, which means it's at least 10 Q&A sessions.
Yes.
Holy shit, Stu.
That's how I
But
do it.
but Stu, that sounds like a four-letter word, and I used one four-letter word. I'm going to use another four-letter word. Stu, that sounds like work.
You know what, Jim? When you love what you do, it no longer becomes work.
Yeah, what happens when your hobby becomes your job? You don't have your hobby
You don't
anymore.
have your
I'm just
hobby
going to
anymore. No, I'm
feed that
serious.
back to you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a little bit of work, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
That was the part where you say, but Jim, you've got all these cool copy and content.ai tools that make work feel like fun.
Well,
Go ahead.
that too, but let me just say that you make it fun
Right.
because of those tools. Because I mean, I can't wait to show you my before and after sales letter that I wrote the sales letter and then I put it into the Rewrite Genie and then I put it into the sales letter Genie and
Yeah.
it came up with what I use now as my description for the Never Quit Mindset course.
Did you put it into the Vegematic Genie?
No. What is
No,
that?
there isn't one. I'm just like, I put it in this genie, then this genie, then this genie, then this genie. I just figured it was like, yeah, and I put it in the juicer, then the Vegematic, that it went in the microwave, then it went anyway.
No, it was just once again, it's work. It is work, but it's fun and I get inspired every time I read something that the Genie has put out that is, really good sales copy because I know I am not good at sales copy. It would be horrible work if I had to do all the sales copy myself.
Well, what if we reframed this not as work, but as sharing value?
Mm.
Because now it's not work. Now we're out there serving people and we're helping people. So that might be a better reframe of work. It's not work, it's sharing value.
Okay.
It's sharing the message, it's sharing all the goodies. But Stu, you just, I didn't mean to call you Sue, boy named Sue.
It's quite all right.
That's a good song though. You basically just laid out content marketing.
Oh.
You just laid out content marketing for a book. So were you serious? You want to show your the redo you did of the sales letter and stuff? How are sales coming of your course?
Well, I just put it up last night and sold my first course last night. So I
Holy crap.
woke up this morning with a course sale.
So you woke up this morning. Well, I'm sure you sold more than just the course. I'm not trying to
Oh,
get
oh
into
yeah.
your thing, but
Yeah,
so
I
what
sell
you're
books a
saying
lot.
is you woke up this morning with $200 extra in your pocket.
Yep, I did.
Can you tell whether it came as a direct sale or as an upsell or as a an add-on? I'm just curious.
It was a newsletter response from a prior customer.
Okay, so you're
So
tracking like a real business. Excuse me. So it came from a newsletter ad from a previous customer.
yes.
Sweet. Do you got any testimonials for it yet?
No, but I'm getting testimonials for the book, which I'm using for the course.
Okay. And how are you using the testimonials?
Right now, I've only used them as social media posts.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do a lot of testimonials on the 1st and the 15th of every month
Why is that?
because that's when the eagle shits.
For the non-initiated, what does that mean?
That's payday, baby.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's when people have money. There was a mentor of mine who shall remain nameless, but basically just said, look, people got money, it's burning a hole in their pocket. They're going to spend it with someone, they might as well spend it with me.
That is
So
true.
how do you
That's a
make
great
it?
one.
Okay,
That's a great
so
one.
let's talk about that for a second though, as far as the what you're sharing basically comes down to here you go. Basically what you're sharing is proof that somebody can get the result. That's
Yes.
what a testimonial is. That is social proof that somebody can get the result. So what better place to share social proof than social media?
Mm.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. So basically, you're selling results, you're packaging up results as books and selling them. So I want to talk for a minute about something that I think we all kind of take for granted or don't address, and that is credibility. Now, I can't spell it. Oh my God. Cred. Okay. Does the fact that Stu Smith was a Navy SEAL give him credibility for writing workout books? With some people, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Don't go, you know it
Yeah.
does. Okay, so, but what if somebody didn't know you were a Navy SEAL?
I like to also think that wouldn't matter.
Yeah, that's bullshit. It would matter. Okay,
Okay, but like I said, I like to think it would matter, but it
yeah,
does.
I like to think that I'm going to lose 20 pounds with no effort and have the body I had when I was 18. It's never going to happen.
Well
So
played.
we all like to think these things.
Yes.
Okay, so credibility basically comes from our background, our experience, our education, and our accomplishments and awards. Okay, those are the main areas that credibility comes from. All right, so background, experience, education, accomplishments, and awards. If we don't share those, then we don't have the credibility that lends itself to someone buying from us. So, how can we get credibility? Well, we can share this stuff, but I've always had people ask me, "Well, what if I don't have credibility? What if I don't have education? What if I don't have the background? What if I don't have this? What if I don't have that?" And my answer is, well, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people are like, "Oh, click, screw that. I'll go over and buy from so and so because they don't ever tell me the truth." So, it. However, I think that you familiar with the Pareto principle, right?
Mhm.
So for those that don't know what the Pareto principle is, the gist of it is that it's the 20% that gets you 80% of results. I was introduced to a new principle that I think is a very interesting.
Hmm.
And that is, and so I'm going to probably spell this wrong, but Pareto, and we'll call this Pareto squared. And what that basically says is that there's a 4% that can get you 64% of the way there. So, whereas most people are just down in the 80%, dicking around, not getting anything done and feeling busy or at least productive, or, they're distracting themselves. Then you say, okay, there's a 20% of stuff that you should do that's going to get you the results that you should get. However, let's use fitness as an example real quick. Okay. So the 80% that people, oh, well, what kind of shoes should I get? I love it. What kind of shit? You can't even walk down to your mailbox. You're worried about what kind of shoes? Put shoes that fit your feet. Okay. What kind of running shorts should I get? What kind of, all this stuff that they get wrapped up in. And
Yep.
if you could finally get them to the point where it's like, okay, look, comfortable shoes that fit well, move for at least 20 minutes a day, eat like a sensible diet, drink lots of water, and do 30 minutes of semi-vigorous exercise every 3 times a week. you're going to be a lot healthier than anybody else. Now, there's all kinds of gradations up that, tactical fitness, all that other stuff. But the gist of it is that you don't, wear the clothes you got, move your ass a little bit, don't eat like a hog, and drink water, limit the booze, and don't do drugs. Okay. And you're going to be a lot healthier than just by knowing that.
Yeah.
But what's the 4%? Okay. Drink at least 6 glasses of water a day, move for 20 minutes, and don't eat like a hog. There you go. That'll get you 2/3 of the way there. And you can remember all of it. And as soon as that kind of like, holy crap. Now, is 64%, I mean, in school, 64% when we were kids was an F. Now I think it's a freaking B post-COVID, but I don't know. But it's like, this isn't failure, this is progress.
Yes.
Meaning, while these people are jerking around in the 80%, you could get 2/3 of the way down the field doing 1/20th of what they're doing. And so that mentality, that's not cheating, that's just being efficient. Because yes, you got to go the other 34% of the way, but you've got a lot of time, energy, and effort left to do it. What I've
That's
also
really good, Jim.
It was some mind-blowing stuff, actually.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. If you're willing to invest effort up front in this 4%, like kind of like the magnifying glass in the sun on the log for 5 minutes will light that log on fire, as opposed to 30 years of just rotting in the sun. If you're willing to put forth in this 4% a really concentrated effort, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, you can create actually a result that goes way beyond this if you're using AI. But I digress. But this is just this is where my mind thinks when I'm sitting in my sauna after my Stu Smith workout, and just thinking things through and watching stuff. So what does this have to do with credibility? Okay. Or with explaining credibility? All right. So background. We could talk all about how Stu is a graduate of the Naval Academy, grew up in Florida, was a weightlifter, athlete, blah, 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 blah. You want me to do the background experience and do the background and experience in 3 words? Former Navy SEAL. No, dude.
Okay.
Okay.
I got you.
What I'm saying is that we got to start condensing this stuff down.
I agree.
And so everybody's all of a sudden saying, well, I'm not a Navy SEAL. I can't be a Navy SEAL. I realized this morning when I was working out, I'm still never going to be in the Marine Corps. I mean, it's that ship has sailed. It's not happening. But former Navy SEAL, that sums up a whole bunch of stuff. Now, that means he's smart and he's tough. But does that mean his books are any good? Does that mean his courses are any good? So when we talk about background, experience, education, I asked you something the other day that you shared that you had never shared before. But you gave me a statistic, trained over 1,500 special operators. Is that still true? Or have you added one? You added a couple since then. Okay.
We had 5 get through Hell Week last week.
Okay, that's I always love those updates. 5 out of how many?
4 or no 40.
No.
Yeah.
How many of those guys were yours?
5 of them were mine.
But
then
5 you went 5 for 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
5 so you 5. Had 5 guys there at the start of Hell Week.
Showed up.
All 5 of your guys made it through.
Yes.
That's unheard of. Okay, statistically. So my point though,
it's expected.
100%, but it's because you trained them for years to be mentally ready.
Right.
They're not 8-week wonders.
No.
Okay, you make these guys tough for years. Okay. Still though, this doesn't mean your books are any good.
Nope.
Okay. So what happened? You had been writing books for a long time.
Yeah, at least
And
15 years when I met you. Yeah.
right. And so we met, was it 15 years? Holy crap. Okay. Anyway, what happened after you went through one of my trainings, even though you had been doing books forever and selling books and even published a book on Amazon? What if we were doing this 4% thing? What's the one thing that happened as a result of that you had
I
not done
would
before?
say this right here.
The good looking picture on the right, or #1 best-selling fitness author?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened?
I self-published a book on Amazon, which I had not done before.
Uh-huh.
I had a publisher do it, but I never self-published one. And then using your methods, got that baby up. Next thing I know, it was ranked #1. Took a snapshot of that one, and been a #1 best-selling author ever since. It's on every book.
I was just gonna say. So, have you ever had additional books hit #1 on Amazon as well since then? I know you have.
Yeah, a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
What difference
But
has being
I've also not had books hit #1 on Amazon
okay?
too, because I didn't try. Be honest with you, I've already got this. I don't need to
Well,
do it again.
okay, but one of the reasons I'm not trying. Why didn't you try? Were you making more money selling it off of your own website than you were off of Amazon? You're like, why would I give money to Amazon?
Yes and no. It was just I I didn't feel like I needed to, if that makes any sense. And be
Okay.
honest with you, had you said you need to try to do that, I probably would have.
Okay.
Because I listened to you as a coach and mentor. But I just, things get in the way, and I just was unable to like really push on it that way. And that method I just explained of getting the word out there, that's how I've been getting the word out there on new books. And I haven't really concerned myself with #1 best-selling status.
You just want to go make money now.
Yes.
And that's the funny thing though, but you got the credibility of being a #1 best-selling fitness author,
Yes.
which combined with the other stuff was the kind of the final feather in the cap to be able to really take off. Now, just not asking for specific numbers, but since you did that, since you were able to put #1 best-selling fitness author on your books moving forward, has that made a difference in your sales and income at all?
Absolutely. Not just that alone, but just every one of your recommendations has seen an increase in my business. It's anywhere from 30 to 50%, every year increase,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know,
you
and
told me one time, what'd you tell me that one time? You put me in a whole new tax bracket.
yeah, different tax bracket. I just paid more
So
taxes that year than I normally do. So I was like, oh,
yeah, but in order to pay more taxes, you made more money.
I know.
So question though, and that is, what's up, Nikki? My question is, what would you tell somebody about how important it is or is not to actually, if you have written a book, how important is it to at least get one of your books to the bestseller list, top 10, number one, doing that? How important really is that?
I think it's very important, not only just for the starburst that I put on every book now,
Mm-hmm.
but be honest with you, it mattered to me. You know what I mean? It took a little bit of the imposter syndrome of book writing away to now I just don't care, and I just like crank out books whenever I feel like it.
Wait a minute. How is it that a former Navy SEAL who's done all this stuff and had written books had imposter syndrome? How is that even possible?
Because we're human, Jim. We all have
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
We all doubt ourselves, and it's completely natural. We fear failure, completely natural. But there's ways to get over that, and I found working through it was the best way to get over it. And then that little accolade at the end is just the feather in the cap.
A little bit of validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable on that because I never thought Steve Smith would have anything remotely resembling imposter syndrome. So everybody assumes that the people that they look at don't have that. So that's pretty cool. So anything else you would tell somebody about the process of, everything we've talked about today? Becoming a best-selling author, leveraging your strengths, any other just thoughts that you'd want to share?
Um, I think for most of us, we get into a procrastination of putting this, kicking this can down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually is tied in with, like I just mentioned, some psychological issue, like I doubt it, I could finish it. What if it doesn't do well? Type of thoughts that you have. Um, and just realize those are all completely natural. And if you really want to get over that fear, because it is a fear, and you just have to work right through it and it goes away. And once you start doing that little, that's when I saw the 4%. It's like just a little 4% will get you the drive to get most of it done. And as you see progress, there's no scheduling 30 or 40 minutes to get something done in a day, like sometimes I have to do just with my schedule. I am up. Like I am like usually I don't have any creative juices after noon, but when I'm on a roll, I am pumping it out all afternoon. I eat dinner, I come back to it, pumping it out in the evening. I mean, it is just flowing and I'm seeing progress. And all it started was that one little move forward, and next thing you know, you're rolling.
Let me ask you a quick question, sideline question though. Before we met, were you using funnels and sales letters and other stuff like that with your books and courses and coaching, or was it more kind of an e-com approach, listing type thing?
Yeah, it was more e-commerce approach, description of what it is, right? This is what I sell. This is what you get. I didn't have any sales copy in there really of what it does, right? It makes you, you know, better prepared to land your dream job. It doesn't, I didn't have that kind of understanding of what sales copy was. And now I do.
So since you have, how has your business changed since you started or offering or adding order bumps and one-time offers and more of a funnel approach? What kind of an impact has that had on your business? Because you've got a before and after with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it went from a person coming to the store and buying one thing and leaving, and a person coming to the store and buying multiple things and then even going to a place where now, maybe I need a little more personalized coaching. This was pretty good, but I could probably use a little more personalized approach. And then bang, they go with the online coaching option. Just because they saw that process, they saw the flow of the way it was structured, and I never had it structured like that. It was just another described product and service, but it didn't have a logical flow of progression from buying a book to buying a coaching program.
So making your book a bestseller, having an offer around your coaching program, and then using a funnel approach with a sales letter and order bumps and one-time offers has made a huge difference in your business as far as just everything from average order value to your income.
Absolutely. And I have to say too, changing over from the Yahoo store system, which was
Mm-hmm.
great when it was just ebooks, because that was the first one I found back in 2003 that allowed me to sell downloadable products. They just didn't evolve at
Right.
all. And
Right.
that's why no one knows that they even exist anymore. I think they've changed their name 5 times. But Shopify has been evolving ever since and links into all of this stuff that we mentioned that looked like a lot of work. They
Mm-hmm.
made it so easy, and the newsletters tied into the website, the social media is tied into every blog post and every description of the products and services. I can click a button on my new course and an article goes out, or a link with a description goes out to every social media I want. I mean, it's incredibly integrated using that Shopify system. Books, products, services.
Very cool. So basically, having the site set up, having a funnel for your book with an offer, with a bump, with an OTO for your coaching and your courses and stuff is really at the bedrock of what you're doing now.
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, and I mean, this is totally self-serving. What would you say to someone that was thinking about doing our AIM coaching where we're going to walk them step by step through how to make their book a bestseller, how to create an offer for a high ticket coaching program, how to create their book funnel, their ebook funnel with an order bump, with a one-time offer of that coaching, and then a 5 email follow-up sequence, and then also how to set up their authority site over 8 weeks. What would you say to someone that might be on the fence of signing up and doing that?
I highly recommend it, because if you try to learn it yourself, it's going to take you 10 years. Because that's what it took me. It took me 10 years to evolve into a, book, social media, course, with proper sales copy and, the infrastructure to handle all of that. It took me a while to do it. Now, all the infrastructure is already there. And if you can learn it in 8 weeks instead of 8 years, 100% I would recommend it.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Well, what else should we talk about today, Stu? Or are we good? Anything else you would tell somebody? I mean, this was great what you talked about here with your process I mean, you talk about the 4% that gets you 64% of the way there. It's basically what Stu said, create the article, get it up on social media, boost it, send it out to your list, use it to build your list, create a video about it, do a Q&A session about it. I mean, the only thing you didn't have in here was do a webinar.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, that's all. You could also do that.
Yeah. I don't recommend book signings.
Why not?
Just a waste of time, Jim. Waste of time. I've done 3 of them, and I said I'm not doing this ever again.
Okay.
Just
Where'd you do them?
like in Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
with
didn't take a bunch of pictures and stuff?
published book. I did. I took
Okay.
pictures and even video back in the day, and it was just, eesh, you know, not
Okay.
worth not worth the hourly rate.
Well, I will tell you that turning your book into a bestseller is a really cool thing to do. And it will change how you view yourself. Wanted to share some pictures of some people that we have actually helped to do that, just because it's fun. And let me share my screen. But we helped Ron to get his book over the top and make it a bestseller.
Nice.
We helped Joe, and Joe's book was on. Actually, Ron's book was on From Chaos to Calm: 5 Steps to Achieving Your Goal, even in the toughest of times. Joe's is on how to basically maintain your online privacy and not have crazy people show up to your house and like try and murder you. Terry's was all about climbing the corporate ladder from her experience in the C-suite.
Mm,
Tim was able to get his book to #1, talking about the #1 or the top 10 mistakes salespeople make. Uh,
mm,
Anna was able to, she's been a machine with this, but she got her Retire Your Way book to #1. And then Sue Emily actually did it twice, one with her dialysis patient recipe cookbook, and the other one with her 7 mistakes to get ready and feel better when you're going through the renal stuff.
mm.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, and you know, the interesting thing that you said about it, I will just end with this. It's interesting how if you think something is cool, then it's cool, and if you don't think it's cool, then it's not. So I've seen
Hmm.
some people that have gotten their books to be a #1 bestseller or even just top 10 bestseller, and they used it as fuel to really take their business to the next level. I've seen other people where they did it and they're like, nah, it's no big deal. And as
Mm.
soon as you say, it's no big deal, it's like, well, I guess it's no big deal. Everybody that looks at you, it's like, wow, I thought it was a big deal, but I guess if they say it's no big deal, it's no big deal. And isn't it interesting that all of our success starts with us? Meaning, if we think something's important, if we think something's valuable, and we think it's going to help people, then it will. And if we
Yeah.
take it for granted and we don't think it's worth anything, then everybody else is going to take it for granted and not think it's worth anything. And I love to think about stuff like that, because it's anyway. I'm just super excited when I see that. It makes me even just a little bit emotional because I think about how excited they were when they did it,
Oh, it's
and
so exciting.
so
Yeah.
would love to have y'all join us. AIM coaching is kicking off on Monday. We have it's an 8-week program. We're going to walk you step by step through making your book a bestseller. You don't need to have a big list. You don't need to have a big following. You don't even need to have a big ad budget. We'll show you the strategies to do it. Then we're going to walk you step by step through creating you can do high ticket or whatever coaching program around your book. Then we're going to walk you step by step through creating your book funnel. We're going to demo it on what we use, which right now is Go High Level. And you can apply it to anything, but we're going to demonstrate it with my most recent book. We'll walk you step by step through that. And then the fourth component with that is we're going to show you how to set up your authority site. So you could either revamp your existing site or set up a new site that really puts you out into the world as the expert that people are going to follow and hire and do all that good stuff. So that's what we're doing. This summer starts next Monday we kick off. So if you're interested, there'll be a link around here somewhere, aimcoaching.com. And we'd love to have you join us. The only real prerequisite is you got to have a book done. So there you go. So we'd love to have you join us. Stu, great job.
Thank you, sir.
And everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.